upbeat, rhythmic African music begins, then fades slightly to the background. Have you ever heard a voice so powerful it could shake an empire? A voice that demanded freedom, not as a gift, but as a birthright. Today, we're talking about a man whose dream for a united, independent Africa cost him his life, but whose legacy continues to inspire millions. This is the story of Patrice Lumumba, the first democratically elected Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Slight pause, music shifts to a more thoughtful, historical tone, born in 1925 in a small village in colonial Congo. Then, under brutal Belgian rule, Lumumba was a brilliant and charismatic young man. He wasn't born into a political dynasty. He was a postal clerk, a buyer salesman, a writer. But he saw the injustice around him, the exploitation of his people, and the plunder of his land. He saw a system designed to keep Africans subjugated forever, and he decided he wouldn't accept it. He began writing, speaking, and organizing. His words were like fire, spreading quickly through a population hungry for change. He co-founded the Congolese National Movement, or MNC, a party that didn't advocate for tribal or regional interests, but for a single, unified Congolese nation. His message was simple but revolutionary. Congo for the Congolese. He envisioned a country where its immense wealth, its cobalt, its diamonds, its rubber would benefit its own people, not foreign powers. This was a radical idea. For decades, Belgium had profited immensely from Congo's resources, often through horrific violence and forced labor. The idea of losing control was unthinkable to them, but Lumumba's movement gained unstoppable momentum. He was a master orator, able to connect with ordinary people and articulate their deepest desires for dignity and sovereignty. His popularity was undeniable. In 1960, against all odds, the tide turned. Belgium was forced to grant Congo its independence. In the country's first democratic elections, Lumumba's party won, and at just 34 years old, he became Prime Minister. The world was watching. On June 30th, 1960, Independence Day, the stage was set in the capital Leopoldville, now Kinshasa. The Belgian King Baudouin gave a speech that patronized the Congolese people, praising the genius of his predecessor, King Leopold II, whose regime was responsible for the deaths of millions of Congolese. It was a slap in the face. The official program didn't even include a speech from Lumumba, but he was not a man to be silenced. He walked to the podium uninvited and delivered one of the most powerful anti-colonial speeches in history. He didn't offer polite thanks. He spoke the raw, unfiltered truth. He spoke of the tears, the fire, and the blood. He reminded the world of the daily humiliation, the racist insults, the forced labor, and the stolen land. He declared, "We are no longer your monkeys." He spoke not of bitterness or revenge, but of justice and the end of oppression. In that moment, he wasn't just speaking for Congo. He was speaking for all of colonized Africa, for the Western powers in the room, particularly Belgium and the United States. This was a declaration of war. Here was an African leader who refused to bow, who spoke of economic independence and national control over resources. During the Cold War, his talk of sovereignty was immediately misinterpreted as a pivot towards the Soviet Union. They saw him not as a nationalist, but as a threat to their geopolitical and economic interests. The crisis began almost immediately. The army mutinied. The mineral-rich province of Katanga, backed by Belgian business interests and mercenaries, seceded. The country was deliberately plunged into chaos. Lumumba appealed to the United Nations for help to expel the Belgian forces and unify the country. But the UN's response was weak and ineffective. Desperate, he turned to the Soviet Union for logistical aid, a move that sealed his fate in the eyes of Washington and Brussels. A clandestine plot was hatched. The CIA and Belgian intelligence services decided Lumumba had to be eliminated. They armed his political rivals, funded opposition movements, and orchestrated a coup. In September 1960, less than 3 months after his historic speech, Lumumba was illegally dismissed from office and placed under house arrest. He escaped, hoping to rally his supporters in his political stronghold of Stanleyville, but he was captured. The images of his capture are heartbreaking. Proud leader, beaten and humiliated before the world's cameras. He was flown to the secessionist state of Katanga into the hands of his sworn enemies. On January 17, 1961, Patrice Lumumba, along with 2 of his political allies, was executed by a firing squad commanded by a Belgian officer. To hide their crime, they dismembered his body and dissolved it in acid. All that remained was a single tooth, a gold-capped tooth, which a Belgian police officer kept as a grotesque trophy for decades. That tooth was finally returned to his family in 2022, a haunting symbol of a life cut short and a dream deferred. They thought that by destroying his body, they could erase his memory. They were wrong. They silenced the man, but they amplified his message. Lumumba became a martyr, a powerful symbol of African self-determination and the struggle against neo-colonialism. His face adorns murals from Dakar to Johannesburg. Streets are named after him across the continent and beyond. He is a hero of Pan-Africanism, a reminder of what is possible when leaders dare to dream of a truly free and united Africa. His story is a brutal lesson in power, politics, and the high price of freedom. It shows how far global powers were willing to go to maintain their grip on Africa's wealth and destiny. Lumumba's dream for a strong, unified, and prosperous Congo, free from foreign interference, is a dream that still resonates today. The challenges Congo faces instability, conflict, and the exploitation of its resources are a direct legacy of the forces that conspired to bring him down, but his spirit endures. It lives on in the activists, artists, and young leaders across Africa who continue to fight for true sovereignty and justice. They carry the torch that Patrice Lumumba lit on that fateful Independence Day. They know that his voice, the voice that shook an empire, can never truly be silenced. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into a crucial piece of world history. If you found this story powerful, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the figures who shaped our world. Let us know in the comments what you think about Lumumba's legacy. Until next time, stay curious.